As gardeners, starting seeds can be one of the most rewarding experiences. It not only allows you to save a ton of money versus going over to garden centers or greenhouses and buying seedlings, but also offers you the most variety when selecting from options that are available to you. Greenhouses and garden centers are really only incentivized to carry things that they think are going to sell, and that rules out so many other options as a gardener. But when starting seeds, we encounter a few different challenges. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about the 3 largest challenges that you're going to face when starting seeds. Let's go. The first largest challenge you're going to face when starting seeds has to do with lights. If you don't have the right type of light, or if the light is not close enough to your seedlings, you're going to run into problems. The first problem that you're going to experience is the plants are going to be stressed for light. And when they're stressed for light, you're going to notice that they are going to start to stretch. And that stretching is a process called legginess. Now, that's just kind of like a nickname term. There's a very scientific term that we don't need to get into, but basically it's a mechanism that the plant is trying to essentially reach for the light. Because the light is not coming closer to the plant says, okay, well, if you're not going to come to me, I'm going to come to you. And one way or another, it tries to create that balance. And oftentimes, in a lot of cases, when a plant starts to get leggy, what happens is the plant will begin to turn top heavy. And when it turns top heavy, it will often fall over and then start to kind of crawl along the ground in a very failed attempt at reaching the light because the stem is just not strong enough. And when that happens, either you will lose the plant entirely because the stem is just not strong enough to sustain that plant, but also it's a sign of stress. And a stressed seedling, oftentimes in a beginning seedling phase, will die later on because it just doesn't have the vigor to sustain the plant later on either. And that's just because the stem just gets stretched out far too thin. And it's impossible to correct that. When it actually gets too far gone, it's really irreversible. And so how we fix it or how we prevent it from happening entirely is we have to address our lighting situation. And a lot of gardeners, they don't really understand the relationship that lights have with their plants. You see, this is a grow light. And this grow light here contains LED bulbs. You can have either an LED bulb, which stands for light emitting diode, or a compact fluorescent. Those are the 2 most common grow lights you're going to come in contact with. And regardless of what you go with, we've done lots of videos on grow lights. You want to get a grow light that fits into, and I'm going to simplify it down. I know there are people that are going to say, well, but, if you know everything that I'm going to talk about, great, good for you. But most gardeners do not understand even the basics. And so I'm going to get you understanding the basics of this grow light, and then you can work on fine-tuning it later. The first basic is that you need to be strong enough. The strength of the light is rated in lumens. That is how strong the light is. If you take a flashlight and you have one little bulb, or a candle even, a candle, anything that emits light can be measured in lumens. A candle may have 20 lumens, whereas this grow light has 20,000 lumens. That is the equivalent of 1,000 candles. It's 1,000 times stronger than a candle burning. And a plant growing needs to use light energy. Light energy is measured in photons. And photons is how much light particles are being given off. The stronger the light, the more light particles are given off. And those photons are what the plant uses to create energy, photosynthesis. And so when you have a grow light, you want to make sure the minimum, if you aren't confused yet, this will clear things up because it's very simple. Every grow light can be measured in lumens. Every light in general can be measured in lumens. You want to find a light that is at least 2,000 lumens. Anything less than 2,000, don't even bother with it. No matter how close you get, it's still not going to have enough growable energy being given off to grow plants. The second relationship that grow lights have with your plants has to do with the color of the light. Once you've gotten the lumens correct, the color is the next most important because the light energy being given off is one thing, but it's another if the light color isn't correct. You see, plants, they require a certain spectrum of light. Light is all in waves. Different light has different waves. Red light has a much larger wave. I'll have Hannah find a light wave chart and throw it up. Red light is real big, really big waves. And that means the distance between the median line and the crest and the trough are real tall. So they have big undulations. Whereas blue light is much more short. And when you have a seedling is going through a growth phase. It is essentially going through an energy generation phase. And the best color light to generate energy is a blue colored light. How do you know what color blue is? It's based on what's called the Kelvin scale. The Kelvin scale is essentially a scale given to light to grade the color. The higher the number, the more blue the light gets. The lower the light, the more red the light gets. And if you find a grow light, you want to find a grow light that ranges from 5,000 Kelvin up to 6,500 Kelvin, and that is going to be more of a blue light. That's going to give off more of that growable light when the light energy is received by the plant, so the plant can grow at its optimum potential. And so to give you a simulation here, I've got this light here, and this light I can alternate between 2,700 Kelvin and 5,000 Kelvin, and you'll see a pretty clear difference. I'm going to go with 2,700 Kelvin first. As you can see, it's very orange. That orange means it has more of that red color to it, and the waves are going to be much more wide, right? The undulations are much more high and low versus 5,000 Kelvin, it's more blue. And that means the light is the distance between the peak and the trough is much shorter. And that has a much higher frequency, which is going to allow the plants to grow at a much better rate. And they're going to be able to photosynthesize, which is what they are doing when they're first growing. So you got to get the color right. And you can find the color on every single bulb, and every single grow light setup that you come across will have the lumens and it will have the color. At least it should if it's a good quality one. So make sure you focus on those two. And then the third, and that's the final thing we're going to talk about with grow lights, is the distance. The distance that your plants are away from the light means everything. If you get the color right and the lumens right, if your lights are not the right distance away, you're going to not be able to grow plants, because the light energy being given off from this light is translated to photons, right? We talked about that. That's light energy. And plants need light energy to grow. The problem is many gardeners just think that as long as you can read a newspaper underneath the light, that's sufficient. The problem is that I could read a newspaper over here because light is being wasted. It's being thrown in different directions. It's being dispersed. That's what it's called, right? Dispersion. And that means that the light is essentially being seeped into other parts of the room besides your plant. And the only way your plant can grow is if those light photons, that little light energy, touches the leaf surface. And how do you do that? Well, you have to decrease the distance. When you decrease the distance, you're essentially guaranteeing a higher probability, a higher likelihood of that photon, that light energy particle, touching the leaf surface. All seems really complex, but it's pretty basic. If you had a target, okay, if I was trying to throw a stone into this container, okay, my likelihood of missing is pretty high. Okay, there was 1 out of 2, 2 out of 3. I'm not trying to miss. Whereas my proximity to the basket guarantees a higher likelihood of accuracy. And that's the same thing that you're going to come in contact with your grow lights and your plants. You want to make sure that your grow lights are close. Now, how close is too close? Well, you can burn your plants if they're too close. But again, there's a simple math equation for you. You start at the bare minimum of 2,000 lumens. At 2,000 lumens, you are at 4 inches. You never want to be closer than 4 inches. If it's closer than 4 inches, you can burn your seedlings. So you start at 4 inches at 2,000 lumens. I know this grow light is 20,000 lumens. So I could be at 4 inches, or I could have the same results going up 1 inch for every 1,000 lumens. That means in total, I can be 24 inches away. Because I start with my 4, right? I start with my 4 inches. I guaranteed get those 4 inches. Then I have 20,000 lumens. And that means that I have 20 extra inches, I can raise this light up, giving me more room to grow more plants, so I don't have to have my plants like this, because these ones on the outside aren't getting grow light. This allows me to have way more efficient use of my grow lights, grow more plants, and grow them effectively without having them stretch. That is the secret to not having leggy seedlings. Those are the 3 things to understand about your grow lights. I know it's a lot. The second and third challenge, they're a little simpler. So let's go talk about those. Once you've gotten your grow lights correct and everything is dialed in, the second biggest challenge that gardeners make is not having the right texture when starting seeds. The texture of the soil matters so much. Now, you can grow seedlings in just about anything. However, there's an asterisk there. You can grow anything, but they might not grow well. They might grow, they might just not grow well. And as a gardener, you want your seedlings to grow well. You want them to be the strongest, most hardy seedlings possible so that when they go into the garden, they're going to set you up for success. In order to get them to grow well, you need a well-sifted, fluffy seed starting mix that's going to hold on to the right amount of water, the right amount of air, but not have really large gaps. How we take those gaps out of the soil is we either go with a sifted mix that comes pre-sifted, or we sift our own, or we just go with a really fine seed starting mix that we don't have to do anything with. It just kind of comes out of the bag that way. Now, we use Pro Mix, or we use Coca-Cola. We make our own seed starting mix with Coca-Cola, or we buy a pre-bagged mix from Pro Mix that is already pre-sifted, and it's got incredible texture. We're not contending, the roots are not contending with any chunks of wood, any stones, or heavy clay. It's very loose, fluffy, and it's pre-sifted, and that makes sure that we don't have any large chunks that the roots are going to have to kind of navigate around and really hinder their development. Now, a root's development will add about double every week. So if the first week you have about a 1-inch root system, after that second week, you're going to have roughly 2 inches of roots. That third week, you're going to have roughly 4 inches of root development. And that's just basic math. I mean, is it that accurate? No, it's not. But basically, their root system will roughly double every week. And that's for the first month. So for the first 4 weeks, it is doubling every single week. And so it's very important that you give them an environment to where they can double, to where they can actually grow at that rate, because that means your seedling is going to grow incredibly fast and incredibly strong. Do that, and you are going to have incredible results. You just got to get the texture right. When we sift our mix, we sift it down to a 1/4 inch. We get a 1/4 inch hardware cloth. We make a little sieve. We shake it through, and that sieves out any large chunks that we otherwise wouldn't want. Or like I said, just go with a pre-made mix. Pro Mix is a phenomenal one. We carry it over at MIgardener.com, and that's what we use. That's what we're using right now for all of our seedlings. In fact, that's what we used in our lettuce that you just saw as well a couple episodes ago. That's what we started it in. They're doing phenomenal. The third challenge and the final challenge you're probably going to have the most trouble with when starting seeds is understanding how much water is right. Now, this is an age-old question, and one that we get asked every single year from gardeners all around the world. How much should I be watering my seedlings? And the answer is, it's a bit open-ended. I can give you some rules to go by, but aside from those rules, I can't tell you an exact amount. The reason why is because if you're growing outside, you're going to be watering far more frequently than inside. If you are using large trays, you're going to be watering far less than small trays. Small cells hold less soil, they're going to dry out a lot faster. The type of soil you have. If you have more peat, you're going to be watering a lot less than a soil that has a little more sand content or more perlite. Better drainage means it's going to drain out excess water, and that's going to dry out a lot faster. So taking those things into consideration really dictates the frequency in which you're watering. But the ideal saturation point that we want to go for is we want to water them. We want to water our seedlings until water starts to run out the bottom of the pot. And we don't want to water much more than that. Now you can choose, at this point, we're top watering, but if you're starting from seed, you want to bottom water. That's going to disrupt the soil a lot less. And then at that point, you're going to wait for that soil to be fully saturated. If you were to take out a plant, there should be moisture throughout the entire cell, and that is going to make sure that there's adequate, sufficient moisture. But once the seedlings dry out, you're going to have to decide when to water next. And that's where a lot of gardeners go wrong. It's not that they're not watered. It's that when do they need water next? You want to wait for that cell to be completely dry again. And how you can tell is over time you're going to learn what a dry cell feels like. You pick it up, it's going to feel noticeably lighter than one that is well watered. And you want to wait for that water to be completely gone before you water again. Otherwise, you're going to be overwatering. You're going to be risking problems like damping off, root rot, and mold. So you really want to make sure that you water less than you probably think. And over time, you're going to learn what the right watering schedule feels like for you in your case. And with that, those are the 3 biggest challenges that I have encountered when seed starting and that you'll encounter as well. They are challenges, but you can overcome them and have great results. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all learned something new. And if you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you all on the next episode. As always, grow bigger. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.